everyone. Welcome to the Aussie Game Podcast. We're here for a special bonus episode to talk through the second leg of the Soccer Ashes series, where Australia took out the victory 3-1. Here to help me talk through all of that is Mopper. How are you, mate?
Yeah, great stuff, mate. What a fantastic game we witnessed last night, and what a pleasure it is to talk to the viewers and hear all the comments about their reaction to our second leg of the Kiwis encounter.
There's certainly plenty of thoughts and opinions flying around from the Australian football community, but let's share our thoughts, mate, on what we saw last night in Auckland. Let's start with the starting lineup. We did expect some changes, probably didn't get all of the changes that we thought, but let's look at who Tony Popovic picked. So he had Paul Izzo in goals, backing up his start in Canberra. The back line, the back three in the middle, centre back stayed the same. Congratulations to Chikati, who got the captain's armband. Lewis Miller played on the right. Kai Rolls was a bit of a surprise, playing at left wing back. O'Neill and Ballard played in the double pivot in front of them. And then the two tens were Metcalf and Irankunda, and Mohamed Toure led the line. So I knew you were eagerly anticipating, you mentioned this on the previous podcast we recorded, eagerly anticipating the lineup at 4 p.m. So what were your initial thoughts when that lineup came out?
Well, I left work early, Chief, to get home, and I wasn't disappointed. 6 changes, which is good. It was a good, positive thought process to see that we're looking at different things that we're discussing. If we start with the goalkeeper, Chief, Paul Izzo, just rewarded again for his form in Canberra. I was a little bit surprised. I thought Gauchi would have played, but that's okay. Izzo proved his point in Canberra, and Gauchi come on late anyway. Lewis Miller, good to see, offered width, offered energy. So I thought that was a good move. It just needed to happen. Silvera, it come out, I think, a little bit sore from his previous game from Middlesbrough and got a bad knock in Canberra. Couple of people said he wasn't 100% in the Canberra game, but he was on the opposite side of the pitch where he plays. But I think Miller coming in just definitely balanced us out a bit better. A natural right back, yeah, and I think that's what's made a difference in the game. The trusted three of Degenax, Sakati and Burgess were strong again. Balls in the box and defensively solid. So Popovic really loves this combination, and he's not changing in any hurry with these three. I can tell you, even Hayden Matthews didn't even get any game time, which just shows how Popper just does not want to move from that back three and those strong three defenders.
Only three to play the full 180 minutes across the two legs, those three. So
there you go. I think Harper even said that in the game, that even with he said
that
comes back
cemented in. So
cemented in. Yeah. Suter would struggle to get back in, and that just goes to show. And well, like we said before, they've 4 clean sheets out of 9 before this game. Obviously, they conceded 1, but they're very solid in the game. Just again, opportunity, like you said, Rolls on the left side. So what do we make of that? We go, okay, is that those couple of big sides play this big central defender on the left again, defensively solid, great in the air, good one-on-one defender. Is that the license that negates a bit of ball playing possession with Miller and Boss there? Is that because Irankunda was wide left and he could get as forward as possible? Probably. I would say that what Popovic's thinking is. So he just didn't want to see Irankunda too far back. So it's a smart move to put Rolls there defensively. The only problem is what it does negate is our ability to play out and ball possession. And when we needed to look left and play that ball left, we were a bit hesitant. And Rolls did give the ball away a couple of times, and so did most of the defenders. They had their moments in giving it away. So I think, again, you've seen Rolls' strength, though, too. When he did go forward, he got forward in that first half. He created an opportunity for himself. So, again, you could challenge yourself on that space. But when I look at if Boss slips into that, geez, I think we're electric. And then, obviously, Max Ballard and Aidan O'Neill, I think they complemented each other, and I've got many stats and points that I want to bring up tonight that really sounded out the positivity of these two in the middle. They were fantastic. Irankunda, wide on the left, got up on Toure's shoulder many times. I thought that was a great move. It gave us freedom, gave us expression, allowed us to play out. And Metcalf on the right, I think his combination with Toure, Irankunda, Metcalf, I think he was a different player in the second game. And I thought he expressed himself well. Had a bit of a slow start, but really come into the game really well. And he suits that role. He's played that role, played a number of combinations there. And then what about the star of the night? Yeah, Mr. Toure himself, former Croydon Kings, SANTC player, Adelaide United, just absolutely starred. He had a great cameo, 23 minutes off the bench again in Canberra, and then he just went again, and it was just another level. And geez, it was a different playing style and confidence from the boys behind him. Just it was a really good, well balanced lineup. Apart from maybe that question mark on the left, but again, I think he put that rolls in there to negate, so Irankunda didn't have to come back as much. But the rest of it, Chief, I think it was a very well balanced starting 11.
I tend to agree. I wonder if Izzo, we might get into this a little bit later, but I'll give you some time to think. But I wonder if Izzo is becoming Popovic's preferred behind Matty Ryan, but we'll touch on that a little bit later. Roles on the left, I think he's a solid player without being flashy. So I think you might be right in terms of the balance of him and Irankunda on that side. But Rolls, he did take his opportunities to get forward at times as well. Got himself into the box and had a nice header saved during the first half. So yeah, O'Neill and Ballard, worked really well in that midfield together. I've got lots of notes about those two as well. I want to touch on Connor Metcalf and Popovic mentioned this in his post-match press conference as well, when Irankunda and Toure were leading all the questions from the journalists. He did make a point that Connor Metcalf was an integral part of that front three last night. And I agree with him. He linked up play really well. He got 2 assists credited to him as well. So, and we spoke about when we recorded the podcast, talking about the Canberra game, which you can go back and listen to. Should be in the episodes just before this episode comes out. We did speak about him and Hrustic being in there and being quite similar and needing runners around them, needing movement, needing athleticism around them. And you could see when we got that with Irankunda and with Toure with their movement, how much better Connor Metcalf was. So as you said, very well balanced side. There's an obvious criticism in terms of the squad that was put out, but we'll get to that a bit later. But yeah, in terms of the starting lineup, positives for me, seeing Ballard get his start, Irankunda and Toure starting, and Chikati getting the captain's armband. So that was the pleasing things for me.
Yep, and challenges, Chief, I just want to touch point that 6 players had no time over the 2 friendlies, which I thought was a little bit disappointing, especially when we went up 3-0 in the 2-legged contest. I thought that was the time. I know there's a lot of mixed debate over that, but unfortunately we didn't see 6 players. Segecic, Iredale, Bodic, Glover, Matthews, Calic played no time. I thought it was a missed opportunity. And again, it's only just feedback, and we get to discuss these points, but I would have liked to see some game time out of those boys. And I understand both sides of the pitch. Yeah, Popper's trying to set the bar high, set a standard. We've seen a lot of reaction around that about, like you said before, we got on air here tonight about Max Ballard earning his right at 24. Really making it difficult and making them hungry. But then on the negative side of things, it's just, I think, a missed opportunity to springboard him into the side. A rivalry friendly, whichever way you want to call it. 6 players not playing. I want to gather your thoughts on those ones.
Oh, look, let's talk Segecic now then. I was shocked, as a lot of people were, that he wasn't included at least in the matchday squad for the second leg against New Zealand. I'd have thought during the match that potentially, Popovic has let him, go back to Portsmouth early and get prepared, and he's enjoyed his time in camp. But then I saw him in the post match photo, so that wasn't the case either. I think probably for me, while I don't necessarily agree with it, I can see where Popovic is coming from, and a lot of people do tend to agree with what Popovic is trying to do in terms of getting them into camp, having a look at them, making them really want and give them and have that desire for the jersey, as we did see with Max Ballard the other night. I just hope that those conversations are being had with these players, and that they're not supposed to just read Popper's mind and know what he's thinking. If those conversations are being had and, it was an issue from the start, Adrian, you come into this squad, you're not going to get any game time. I want to have a look at you. I want you to get in there, train hard, work hard, and then go back to Portsmouth, continue your good form, and then you're likely to get called up in the October window, and that's when you're going to get your opportunity. If that's the conversation that's being had, absolutely fine. If it's absolute silence from Popper and Segecic is supposed to guess, then I don't know if that's the right approach.
Yeah, it's real interesting points that you make, and from both sides of the pitch. So we'll have to watch it unfold, and we're not going to have to wait long, Chief. We've got Canada and America in very short space of time. So, and the players that have played and will go back to their clubs have got another quick short turnaround of about 3 to 4 weeks before we see the next squad, which will be announced in nearly no time now. So I think that's a positive if we see that this similar type of lineup. It'd be interesting to see what happens. A-League will only just be kicking off. There's Asian Champions League where a couple of players are in. City and Mariners side that might push their claims. I really think that
City and MacArthur.
Oh, sorry, City and MacArthur. Sorry,
Yep.
City and MacArthur, and they might be able to push their claims. So it's going to be a really interesting, another selection table when he goes back to pick this squad for Canada and America. Because again, this is another level above, and it's going to be exciting if we can bring this brand and style to those games, and hopefully forms that continuity that he's looking for.
All right, mate. Let's talk about the game itself. Let's talk about the first half. I know from recording the other night, you pointed out a lot of things in terms of the start of the game and how we looked. Did you see some differences from the start, or did it take us a bit of time to get into the flow of what we were trying to do?
Oh, the first 14 minutes, Chief, was stuck, I think, in the first game. But the tempo was a little bit better, which was more positive. The tempo and the intent was there. The execution probably wasn't. So it's not a negative. It's just how I think the game unfolded. It was a bit cagey, wasn't it, the first 5 minutes? But I just want to point out a few stats after 14 minutes. We only had 31% of possession again, so we struggled in the first 14, 15 minutes to get on the ball and hold it again. New Zealand had 69% of possession, 2 shots, 1 on target, 85 passes to 40. And again, the first 14 minutes were really struggling in that possession type. I want to point out a few things that we were struggling with in the first 15, but look at a couple of opportunities and a couple of positives as well. So, as I said, the first 5 was a bit clunky, by both teams. No one could hold the ball. New Zealand, were the ones taking the ascendancy, though. So it's just something to look at, because obviously every minute counts when it comes to the higher level. The first good sign, though, come pretty early for us. 4 minutes, 39 seconds. O'Neill nicks in to win the ball, and Max Ballard shows what we need, the good run, supporting play, and strong on the ball, makes a difficult pass to Irankunda out from the back half, job done. And I've seen that in the first 5 minutes. So even though we didn't progress any further from that play, you just watch O'Neill nick in and how they combine, and Ballard had to show really strong strength down that line and made a really difficult pass that Irankunda could have got a free kick from, but got the shy instead. But just the sign again was there that Max Ballard made that immediate impact. Key observation, 9 minutes, 44 seconds in, Sarati wins the ball. This is the opportunity I want to point out. So he plays the ball to Miller. It's just before the halfway line. And again, we're falling into that same trap that I was talking about in Canberra. There were 2 defenders in front of him, Chief. One was behind him and one was on his left shoulder. So he's pretty much surrounded by 4 players. Now, remember, Sarati had played the ball and passed it on to Miller. So again, I've got a photo of this setup, and I'm going to look at it in a bit of detail. So where's our setup? Our three central defenders from where Miller's got the ball just before halfway, they're 20 to 25 yards away deep. Yeah, not in a position to get the ball, not even a position to support. They're just so far away from the ball, it's not funny. They're nearly back on the 18-yard line. They only had one Kiwi in front of them, so there was nothing forward of the ball either, and no one was behind the ball either for Miller. So he's running towards the halfway line towards these four players. Now, Sarati makes a key mistake here. He's ball watching, yeah? He gives Miller the ball, but he ball watches and just stands in the space. And Miller hasn't even got a safe option to go out or pull back. If Sarati just pulls to the edge a bit or pulls back 5 yards, he would have taken one of these Kiwis out of play and at least enabled Miller to play it back where he would have had those three central defenders. On his left shoulder, let's look further of the ball. Max Ballard makes a poor decision. He's only 10 yards away, but he doesn't go with the play. He doesn't sprint to get up beside Miller. If he would, there would have been possible a square ball on for him, but he's too far back and he's null and void. So there's not another option. And worse, in between the next three Kiwis, which is in front of Miller, is Metcalf. He's stuck way too close to Miller. Even if Miller got him the ball through three Kiwis, he would have been closed down straight away. And O'Neill was in a poorer position than Miller. Could not even he'd have to get through four Kiwi players to get the ball to him. Again, it just highlights in that first 15 minutes in some of our phases of play, if we want to hold the ball again, we need to be better, taking up better positions and opening up the pitch again. Because what happens? What does Miller do? He has no options. So out of all those players I mentioned, not one option, he takes on the two defenders. And what happens? He loses the ball. Now, the play continues, Chief. I want to point out on this. It's very lucky that O'Neill wins the ball back. And again, O'Neill this time, though, has space and time. And what's the setup again? Same again. Ballard, too slow to react. 5 meters behind the ball, not square of O'Neill's. Again, we could have had an easy ball out and counted. But Ballard is too far back. Where are the three defenders? Still too deep, still too far back. Now, Rolls makes a run, and the switch is on, and the counter's on. So if Rolls would have made that run down the left-hand side, not that it's his natural job, and this is what negates the problem, down that left side. So O'Neill's got time, he's got space. So where does he go? He goes long to Toure. And what happens? It's a poor ball. We lose it again. Even Toure, Chief, in that time, puts up his hand and went, what the? What the most important thing we need to look at it, what do these things lead to? It leads to New Zealand creating a good opportunity and a cross in the box, which could have easily not have happened. If we were better with the ball, and this was around the 11th minute, again, if we're better with the ball, we could have made a better opportunity. Now, sorry, I forward to the 11th minute. Again, we're a mess playing out of the back. We concede a corner, probably our worst moment in the game, I thought this was. And luckily it was all negated, but we were a mess. We're playing out with, Burgess throwing his hands up. There were some shocking passes, poor positions, and it continues up until the 14th minute. That first 14 minutes was just a bit of a scramble, and we just couldn't get our footing into the game. But again, it goes to show if we don't get in our positions early and get into this tactical awareness and space off the ball, we will continue to allow opportunities to teams to dictate us. And we can't give up 15 minutes of football if we want to do better, as a football team. Now, the challenge here is we then settle. And I want to point out a positive that we did across the front line. The Toure, Irankunda and Metcalf position, their combination defensively forced the Kiwis to play the ball longer, which I thought suited us to a T, because what had happened against Canberra and that they were playing some great football, they negated to longer balls. And they'll playing long or they're losing it, which just played to our T. Now, these front three did this all night. And what it did, it allowed that much pressure that New Zealand couldn't hold the ball, be effective with it, more importantly. Now, I want to point out Mr. Maxi Ballard and what an impact this bloke has. Now, why does he complement this midfield so good? Well, I'm going to point out a time in play in the first half. He pressed high, Chief. He fired it and fired the Kiwis long. And I thought, what effort is Max Ballard? What area of the pitch did he press? He pressed high. And I thought, who was that player? When I zoomed it in, I thought, oh, Max Ballard's pressed high. That's great. That's what we want. So the Kiwis lose it and Degenot picks up the scraps because he forced a long ball. And O'Neill, what he did all night, Chief, really well, was win the second ball. Because of that.
Can I just cut in? That point about Ballard pressing up, it's exactly what I was talking about the other night, where Boyle was so isolated when he was pressing and our pivots weren't pushing up. And it's in Ballard's game to do that. It was something that I noticed as well, that he pushed right up. It's high. It was almost like the second highest up the field. And it just changes things, doesn't it?
100%.
Yeah.
It just adds that third and fourth pressure on the ball, and it made New Zealand struggle all night. And they struggled to get out, which they had ease of the ball in the first game, and they did not have ease of the ball with this press and this combination. And it was so well timed between Irankunda, Toure, Metcalf, and Ballard. It just allowed O'Neill to pick up the scraps when they kicked along or lost the ball. And there's a number of examples of this that I want to point out. Now, the beauty of it, with O'Neill picking up the ball, when he won it, we played 12 sharp passes, and it brought us into the final third. What was good was Ballard was already back after that high press to switch the play through that moment. It just shows his strength. He went from high press to defensive transition, and the reward, we're in the final third, and Irankunda gets a shot away. First time, first opportunity that we created all game in that moment. It also happened, Chief, in the 32nd minute. Ballard pressed again and winning the ball high up the pitch. And who was the man to release Lewis Miller down the right? Max Ballard. Sharp pass in. Miller rips the ball in and unlucky rolls again. Look, he should have scored. It was so unlucky. It was such a great save. But again, look at where it started and how it was. It was our first attempt on target, and it all come from Max Ballard's press, up high, turned the ball over. It was such a massive difference in the game. And it just settled our confidence. And we just grew straight away. And another good ball also to Toure to Metcalf in the first half. We're starting to see the signs that they're starting to really build on this. We did have each time a defender make a mistake in the first half. There was a couple of balls that we gave away, but we escaped punishment, and we still had the opportunity at the back to try to improve on this. But if I break it all down, let's look at our goal. It all started again from a well-organised press, making it difficult.
Can I just cut you before we talked about the goal? Can I just bring up a couple of things in the minutes before that goal as well? Because there was a really similar moment just before the goal. So in the 26th minute, Miller's picked up the ball. He's turned out of trouble. He's got the ball to Metcalf. He's got it on the half turn, not with his back facing our goal. And he's turned and he's tried to pick out Irankunda. Didn't quite get the weight of the pass right.
Remember that one?
Yeah, that was in the 26th minute. And then after that ball from Metcalf that didn't quite find Irankunda, there was a moment very similar that came from the other side of the pitch. So Cam Burgess has got the ball. He's got it in a little bit of space. He's just clipped the ball over to Connor Metcalf, and he's just picked it up on that half turn, and just his ability to be able to get that head up, and it is really the difference between having that mobility and what proved to be some strength from Mohamed Toure to knock the New Zealand defender out of the way, and then great composure to just slide the ball home for his first goal for Australia. So really the pattern of the night, and it really there was a few moments before the goal, but it really followed after as well. Whenever we got the ball forward quickly, whenever our midfielders or Metcalf could pick the ball up on the half turn and look forward, we looked really dangerous. And it just really followed a pattern for the rest of the night.
Yeah, look, I love the lead-up play to that as well, Chief, and New Zealand were playing out, and there was a full press. Toure again, Max Ballard putting pressure on New Zealand, and they played it out just before the goal, Chief, and it turned the ball over to us. And again, Burgess with an aggressive ball to Metcalf. It was just fantastic to see Burgess looking forward and found him like a plum, like you said, and the rest is history. Yeah, well described. But again, like you said, it just showed the transitional patterns and the ability with that higher press and pressure on the ball really troubled New Zealand. It was fantastic play by Australia and definitely a highlight, and it definitely set the tone, like you said, for the rest of the evening.
Even like 3 minutes after that, Burgess again, ball at the back was a short pass to Ballard. He turned quickly. His pass almost got cut out, but it broke for O'Neill, who found Rolls, and he played it into Irankunda down the channel, and he eventually won a free kick. He probably had a bit of a heavy touch and maybe could have made a better situation out of it. But again, it's that the confidence of our backline to be moving that ball quickly, and then our ability for our midfielders to get the ball, half turn, keep moving it forward. And that's when we start to create the opportunities. When we're slow, when we're back, and we're back to Izzo, it just gives the opportunity for the opposition to push and press. And that's when we get caught out of trouble. But it shows, and you mentioned it the other night, it shows that we do have the ability to be able to do that. But I think it's the personnel, right balance, O'Neill and Ballard in that midfield to be able to get that ball forward quickly when we need to, and then again having the speed up front to be making it those situations very dangerous.
Yeah, look, the Socceroos definitely a slow start, but they built into it. And once they got that confidence, Chief, they were just unplayable. A different style of football emerged. I think it was just confidence, and they really started to believe the way they were playing, and they pretty much nearly evened up the possession count up to half time just by that whole growth of confidence, that higher press, and the continuity was starting to see, wasn't that first half. And New Zealand was, I think, stunned by that. I don't, that they took the ascendancy at the start, but Socceroos soon took that away pretty quick. And what was a slow start turned into a good half for Australia, going in 1-0 at half time.
Yeah, just a couple other moments to round out the first half. So O'Neill had a shot that just wide as it broke to him off the corner. And then Ballard was actually found really well by Lewis Miller. And he tried the first time volley, which went over from the edge of the box. Izzo made a very nice save in the 39th minute after the ball was deflected onto the crossbar. And then the follow-up was touched over by Izzo. So, yeah, we mentioned what a great kind of reflex shot stopper he is, and certainly showed that then. And one thing in the final minute of the first half, something that Popovic, I know that he wants Irankunda to work on, but he was on the halfway line when the ball was played out to Lewis Miller, who broke down the right. And the ball didn't actually get to Irankunda, but it was his effort. He sprinted as quickly as he could, and we know how quick he is. He sprinted as quickly as he could, got into that box, and made himself an option. So I'm sure that Popovic, seeing that, would be very pleased.
Yeah, I think they went in half time very confident, Chief, and talk us through the second half, because again, that newfound confidence certainly flowed on the second half, didn't we? We're a different looking team again. We really stepped it up in the second half. Break down your second half analysis for us.
Yeah, probably. I got a note in the 48th minute that Izzo nice save down to his left, so probably a little bit slow out of blocks. But then 50th minute, Ballard pulling the ball down, and then he actually looked forward. It was Sakati who was there. I think it had broken from a free kick or a corner. So he found Sakati really early, and then Sakati put a ball into the box, found the head of Toure that I think his header just went just wide or maybe to the keeper. But again, looking at the goal, the 54th minute for Irankunda, again, it was from our defensive, I think it was a defensive corner. It's broken for Ballard. He's picked up the ball just on the edge of our 18-yard box, head up, 50-yard ball to Irankunda in space. Again, that it's getting the ball down, head up, quick option, Irankunda's away. And look, Irankunda, did well from that point. He had, three New Zealand defenders around him, made a bit of half yard of space and finished really well. Popovic even mentioned how pleased he was for him to score a goal in open play, given that his 2 goals so far this season for Watford have been from free kicks. But again, like Maxi Ballard, his ball playing ability and just having the awareness that, look, Irankunda's in space there. If I can get the ball to him early enough, something might be on here. So great first 10 minutes, as it turned out.
Yeah, it was really good from the Socceroos. They just kept building on it, Chief. What else did you see in the second half that you were impressed on?
Well, unfortunately, just after that one, was a mistake from Miloš Degenek that let Chris Wood in to score. He was really solid all night, Degenek, and he just kind of mistimed the bounce a little bit. And then, Chris Wood got in to score. First time that New Zealand has scored against the Socceroos for something like 9 hours, I think Robbie Thompson was saying in
10. I think it
commentary.
got to 10, didn't it?
Got to 10,
Yeah.
did it?
Yeah,
Well,
I swear it got to 10.
yeah. Yeah, look, another one, 60th minute, 11 passes, a lot of intention to get the ball forward. Ballard again, turning forward. This was the goal. So, there was some, nice intricate play around that kind of between the middle third and the front third, but a lot of intention. And then Ballard, little kind of pivot turn out of trouble, got the ball forward, broke for Toure. And when he got that defender one-on-one, just shifted it aside, just shows his quality, not just the power, but showing his speed and then showing some quality with the finish as well. Unfortunately, 2 minutes later, we thought he had a hat trick, but it's a shame that VAR had to intervene. It was the correct decision in the end,
Yeah, it was.
but it would have been nice for it to stand. But again, Connor Metcalf in that play, if you go and watch it back, there was 2 times that he got involved in the play, and both times, again, I know I keep going on about it, but picking the ball up on the half turn and looking forward, he did it twice in that play, and then Mo Toure's played that nice kind of 1-2 combination with Lewis Miller. But yeah, look, unfortunately that one was ruled out, but again, really positive play, and a lot of it's coming from Connor Metcalf, who I thought was outstanding.
And
So
Chief, too, can I just add a point? And Toure's ability to hold the ball up and to make some intelligent runs. I spoke about the 93rd minute. I said against Canberra, watch this bloke hold the ball up, and he's added that with his intelligent runs. It looks like it gave Metcalf a hell of a lot more confidence to find the plate, and I just love that combination. Was just fantastic. We know Toure's had combination time with Irankunda through Adelaide, but it was just great to see them Metcalf link into those two and really create, I think, some really fluent football for the Socceroos. Really progressive style in a way going forward. It was just so good to see.
yeah, some subs after that. So 64th minute, Geordie Boss and Patrick Yazbek came on for Lewis Miller and Max Ballard. Like for like, Yazbek and Ballard, I mean, in terms of position anyway. Boss for Miller, what did you make of that? What do you think Popovic was trying to do playing Geordie Boss at right wing back?
To be honest, I have no idea. I was confused. I was confused as what Boss was on the right. It didn't work, yeah? Let's admit it. I don't understand why he just didn't put him left back and shuffle him across, but anyway.
Sammy Silvera must have been really hurt.
He's had a tough couple of weeks getting some knocks, but no, it didn't work. Look, I guess you've got to try these things, and I guess that's what he was looking for. He didn't want to lose that rolls out of that left side. I can understand, like as I said, it negates you holding the ball, but Rolls is a very good defender, and again, anything in the box we ate up apart from Degenek's mistake. But yeah, look, I'm sure Johnny Boss did the job, but I think he would have preferred down that left-hand side. But again, he wasn't letting Rolls off the hook, was he? he had him on a leash, and he was there to protect that left side so Irankunda could continue to push forward.
Inverted wing back, maybe? Don't know.
Very inverted backward wing back.
Innovation from Popovic. In the 75th minute, Martin Boyle came on for Mo Toure. So Irankunda played up top for a bit. He had about 10 minutes up top. I didn't probably see anything noticeable in terms of general play that he did there, but potentially just another option that Popovic is looking at.
Yeah, definitely. And again, the game was getting away from the Kiwis, and we'd made a lot of subs that kind of unsettled that continuity. So it was just good that he got some game time, and yeah, we're in control, weren't we? But yeah, it's starting to get a little bit imbalanced again, wasn't it, by the formation?
Yeah. All right. Can we talk about that free kick?
Oh, the the moment of the game, wasn't it? Like out of all the things that happened, the nearly nearly happens was the talk of the town, wasn't it? It would have been one of the greatest free kicks ever seen, even beating Soboslai's free kick against Arsenal. It was hot, wasn't it? And to go off both posts, oh jeez,
Yeah.
it's still incredible. Even though we didn't score, it was still incredible and shows a very frightening sign, for anyone who gives us a free kick around that area.
Well, yeah. Look, and credit to Irankunda. Like, we can talk about the ridiculousness of it and all that kind of thing, but it's something that he works really hard on. And he's obviously
Oh,
been
yeah.
working on it for many, many years. So, we've seen these kind of, like, not that he's a free kick specialist, but we've seen over the years, your Beckhams, your Jane Wards, Prowse, and all these guys that can kind of, they're so dangerous around a free kick. But it's very much not the only string to Irankunda's bow, but it just elevates him to another level, doesn't it? Like that, like, we know he's got the speed and the power and all this kind of stuff, but adding this as well, I mean, as you said, it's hit the junction of the post and the crossbar from 35 yards out or something, and it's
Yeah.
swerved and dipped and, um
19. He's 19.
yeah,
It,
yeah,
I debate that I disagree with your word. He is a free kick specialist. Mark my words. He is a weapon. And isn't it great just having that option?
yeah. I
Oh,
I think
he's
you know what I
unbelievable.
mean, though. He's not a freaky
Yeah, I
specialist in
know.
the
I
sense
know.
of
I was just
only
spitting, yeah.
thing he can do. Um, but look, absolutely ridiculous. If that goes in, I mean, it's kind of gone, you know, viral to a sense anyway. But if that goes in, that's going around the world of how ridiculous that shot is. But yeah, that just unbelievable. It was probably the last big highlight of the game. That the game kind of dwindled out from that point. A few late subs from the Socceroos, so Izzo, Irankunda and Metcalf came off for Giaci, Hrustic and Milanovic. But look, what's your assessment overall of the two legs? Look, another win for us. 10 games unbeaten. Good hit out. Saw some talent not only get their opportunities but take their opportunities. What do you make of the two legs overall?
Yeah, very progressive. I know we were probably disappointed about the game in Canberra, but we're effective and we won. And like you said, it's important we keep winning to get those points for pot two. You can't go away from those important wins with that on the line. It is pot two. If we can get in pot two, it's going to open it up for us in the World Cup. So every win is gold. The football was better. It got better. It's always hard in international football. You've got to come. You've only got 48 hours to prepare with the amount of changes that we had. But I think from the beginning, there's a sign. There's a sign of transformation and progression and intent with this squad. And it's coming from, like we said at the start, they're all playing at the right clubs and they're getting a lot of football and a lot of minutes. And I think Popper said it perfect in the press conference. I'll take this point out that they're fit. They've had a really good preseason, and you've just seen that come to fruition in that, especially in that second game. I just the fans were excited when this squad was announced because they'd seen the potential and they wanted to see that progression. And I think we got that in the second leg and a bit more. So there's still some opportunities. We know that, but we spoke about that on Sunday night. Yeah, the opportunities around our possession and our football. But again, we've seen that progression. If you look at the stats, we're still beaten in possession by New Zealand 56-44, but it improved from the first leg. But we were more effective with the ball this time. Yeah, and that was the difference. We were a lot more effective with the ball in the second game, and it showed with the shots. We had 13 shots to New Zealand's 8, and we had 6 on target to New Zealand's 4. So again, I think that's a positive. Our final third entries were a little bit down, 27 to New Zealand 63. But again, I just think we've got to start to look at that first 15 minutes and the first half in Canberra, and would just not allow teams to dictate us like it is. We've got to be better and sharper on the ball straight away. And if we can bring that into our game where we're more consistent, we don't want slow starts. The World Cup's not going to forgive you for a slow start or a first 5 minutes or a poor first 10. You've got to be there for 90 and competing in every minute, every second, because so many things can happen in one moment against the best of the best, and we've got to be prepared for it. So this is why I'm challenging the Socceroos to go back and look at those little moments in the game. But to see the difference and to see the right balance, I think Popper was very happy after that second game that's starting to come to fruition. And like we said, the true test comes against Canada and America, against higher caliber nations who are really going to be really effective and dangerous with the ball. How we counterattack that, but obviously we've got to progress our football, and I'm starting to see it with a little bit more. I think it's heading in the right direction, and every fan should be absolutely pumped. Irankunda, 19, Sarati captaining at 21. It's just Toure, 21. Max Ballard, 24. This is a young group, and they're all playing at good clubs, and it's exciting what we're producing. And then you can go down player after player after player, but again, the reward is coming from where they're playing and the minutes behind them. I think leading into the World Cup, I think we're going to be pretty sharp.
I've got a couple of questions for you. One's from one of our followers on X, as you were speaking about the games against Canada and the USA, pretty much saying feels that we should keep the core of this squad together with potentially a few changes, and says, sorry, this is from CM Punk is back on X. Yeah, just in regards to the conditions, how we play it in America, kind of, it will be going into a bit more of their cooler weather over there, but how we play some of those conditions as well. And potential, mentioned Kai Truan potentially coming in for Milos Degenek. As we said before, that backline looks pretty solid. I wouldn't mind seeing Kai Truan get a look in, but I don't see Degenek coming out if it's me. But what are your thoughts?
I think this is what we're going with into Canada and America. I don't think the A-Leaguers in this will get a look in until maybe later on. They're in pre-season. They're not playing competitive, and we're only 4 weeks away from this year. So I can't see any changes at all. The challenge is what happens to the 6 players that didn't play. Are they still in line? Where's Jackson Irvine come into that? I still think even if he was just starting to get back, he wouldn't get into that squad just yet. And I don't think we really need to rush him back into friendlies. Truan's a good talent, but who are you going to drop? You've got John Iredale, maybe, but then he was a late inclusion. I don't see Hayden Matthews getting dropped from Pompey. Time with Pompey could be a problem for Hayden Matthews, though, so that could be a challenge. We didn't get to see Kalic, but he's more of an attacking player, and Bodic was a more attacking player. So I think what you see now, you're going to get in America and Canada. Segecic will no doubt go back to Pompey and I think still play well. So I think the question is, my answer is, I think you're going to see nearly the exact same squad with maybe roughly 1 or 2, maybe on the fringes of this side. What are your thoughts, Chief?
Yeah, look, I agree. Like, as I said, I don't think Degenek's coming out based on what Popovic has done in the past. It's a good thought to have, and we all got our thoughts and opinions on what the squad should be. And Truan's going to be out of season as well. He will be playing in some of those Asian Champions League games with Melbourne City, but otherwise he's out of season. So to your point, if these other guys go back to Europe and they've got 4 or 5 more games under their belt before next camp, it means they're going to be in good health and strong for the squad. So, but I think it's a good point around the conditions, and I think I guess we don't really know until we see how the players perform there. But it is a really good test before the World Cup, given that they're the co-host countries, 2 of those. So yeah. Thanks for the.
He's got a very good point though, because Truan can play right back as well. And at the moment, who backs up Miller? I suppose that could be something looked at.
I think Karacic. I mean, he's been playing well for Split, and he was in camp before he got ruled out. So I'd I'd personally, as a right back, I'd have Karacic in front of Truan.
Yeah, so that's the challenge, but I think Truan's going to get, like you said, Asian Champions League against Centre Franche, and at least he'll get some game time in there to prove his worth. And you just never know what Popper's thinking, but he said it before, didn't he? The A League is just that far behind to where Europe is now. So maybe Truan, a good first 3 to 6 months in the A League and the Asian Champions League, and you never know what might happen in the next calendar year. You've still got a good 6 months before the World Cup starts.
Right. I've got a few more quick ones for you. I mentioned it before. Is Izzo ahead of Gauci in the pecking order?
He's not in mine. I think Gauci's slow starts hurt him. With Villa, he got injured with the hip. Don't forget too. So he's only just come back. I don't think so, Chief. Gauci will play for Port Vale this year and build up 30, 40 games. His quality, he's got that's a lot of respect that was shown by Popper to Izzo. But
Izzo's played under him before twice. So probably hence my question, because we know he likes to not favour, but we know he likes to pick players that he's familiar with. I do wonder about the move to Port Vale, whether, as you said when he moved there, if it's a standard too low, and maybe it's Popovic giving him that message.
Yeah, Izzo's just come back from injury too, from Rangers as well. But
yeah,
it's a look again though. I think the message is Gauci. He started with Gauci when he had the first opportunity too. He didn't start Ryan, so
yeah,
I think the message to all three keepers is it's open. Do your best. So
yeah.
I think he's sent a real clear message, and all three of them were going to be really chomping at the bit. So I definitely he's played his cards right, Popper, and said to all three of them, nothing's a giving. Nothing's a given, is it really, for these keepers? So I think there's challenges for all three of them, with Ryan just starting at Levante, Joe just getting started at Port Vale with his loan, and Izzo returning from Randers. So yeah, it's going to be great competition. But again, he said depth for squad, exactly what we want. More competition, the better.
Agree. And what about criticism of Popovic? Is any of that fair? Given, as you said, a year ago we were, you know, in a really tricky situation in terms of qualifying. He's turned that around, and 2 wins from 2. Here, people might question the way he's gone about it, but how fair is some of that criticism?
Oh, it's noise. Like I said on Sunday, you've got to put it in perspective. 12 months ago to this date would, and under Arnold's reign, mind you, we lost and had a draw, and he had to turn that around. So again, I think the criticism is more frustration, because they've got questions, and I don't think they get clarity from Popper. I don't think his answers are very clear in the press conference. I don't think he articulates what is actually going on. But now, whether that's a tactic or not, that's fair enough. That's his style. That's fine. Australians, like anything, they'll want to see, great football and all that kind of stuff. And they see this excitement underneath with all these, like we said, the 23s and the 20s. But we're progressing. We're not going to be there for a while. And Popper's trusting his own style, what's worked from him in the past. And you don't see too many international coaches gamble. But I think there's enough signs to say there's a lot going right and a lot going forward for football in Australia. Not just the Socceroos. Underneath is looking very good. For the first time, the generational change is starting to come through, and there's some high caliber kids coming through, and they're achieving great things. So I can't criticize him. Yeah, he frustrates me with some things, but who doesn't? Like, we're always going to pick up on anything, aren't we, that we want to see improved. But he's 10 games undefeated. He's got us to the World Cup. And I think it's more frustration on views that people want to see that Popper hasn't experimented with. And probably Segecic is another example of that. But
Well, I was just going to
again,
say that, because he could put almost anyone out there and he'd be criticised, right? Like
Yeah.
he's in a lose-lose situation. Like he's never going to get it right in everyone's eyes. So the Segecic thing is 100% right because a lot of people are saying, "Yep, give him the time to wait and earn it," and other people saying, "Throw him in there straight away. He's in form." So
Well, can I
he
say,
can't win.
yeah, can I say one thing? Everyone was critical of Arnold and his style, yeah? But soon as he got nearly beat or nearly competed against Argentina,
Yeah.
everyone thought, like, with that squad that we had, everyone thought we overachieved. So we've had much better squads that have done less and progression, but that comes down to, luck of the draw, and it's always a combination of a lot of things, yeah? It's never just one thing. You gotta have a lot of things right to be successful. You can't just look at like one thing. You've got to have the development. We've got to have all our young players playing at the highest level. We can't be not going to Olympics. We can't not be challenging for under 23s World Cups and Asia Cups and under 20s World Cup. There's another test. You've got to get every path right. It's not just one thing. And sometimes, yeah, generational talents will come through and but you've got to have the right structure. And we said this, who are the 16s and 17s playing against? Yeah, they've got to play against, European teams. They've got to play against the best of the best. If we want to see that progression, then that's where we need to get them to. So again, it's more than one thing with the national teams, and the best countries do everything well at all levels, not just one.
Yeah, and Popovic, if he does have a good World Cup and we progress far, no one's going to be really critical, right? Like it's like
The
that's
results business.
it's just yeah.
We're in
I
a
was going to
results
say, as
business.
you said before,
Yep.
it's getting to we've made it as far as the round of 16 in the World Cup. If he were to somehow get us to a quarterfinal stage, all would be forgiven in on all this process. So
Yeah, well,
um,
yeah. It's again like you said, these this effective football it ends up in effective results. Might end up pot two, and then even the best third teams in the World Cup will get through. So
yeah.
with more teams in there, and you just don't know if you get a good draw, the possibilities can be endless. So of course we're gonna play some top nation and vice versa. And yes, we're going to be ready for every situation. But again, with this new style of World Cup, I think we're never going to have a better opportunity. And I still think the best of this side you will see in 4 to 5 years. I think once these blokes get to 24, 25, yeah, the 4 or 5 kids on the rise at the moment, they're going to be elite talents. Look at Jordy Boss; he's only 22.
Yeah.
So like it is, and like I said, the under 20s, 23s, just there's some fantastic talent there. This is going to be. I think Popper can see it in the previous conference where he said 8 years his side's played in Europe. I think you're going to see that with this lot, 8 years in Europe, and I think you're going to see the best. I think you're going to see some exciting things in this next World Cup, and I think the next 4 years, we're going to have a real opportunity to mature as a nation.
One thing you mentioned there on pot two, Ecuador beat Argentina this morning, which will lift them above us in the rankings for pot two, which is a bit of a hit because Argentina obviously being ranked so much higher than New Zealand, they'll get more points for that effort. So that's a bit of a knock. But look, we just need to look after what we can look after, keep winning and do whatever we can to get in that pot two. But as you said, with the expanded World Cup, even if you're in pot three, you're likely to progress out of the group stage if you have a couple of good games. So a couple of more quick ones before we wrap up the Socceroos. What do you want to see? Are there things you want to see going forward, particularly looking at those US and Canada games? Is it more of the same for what we saw? More probably so the game in Auckland than the one in Canberra, or is there something you want to see that's different?
I want to see Boss and Miller play on the left and right hand side so we can get some continuity with these wing backs. I think we've got to trust in the three. I get the fourth to negate, and it will be Popper's biggest test decision, I believe. If he doesn't test this against one of them, I think he's going to miss an opportunity. But we've got to see if Boss and Miller can get us transition the ball and help these defenders play the ball out and hold a bit more ball. If we go with four, then it's just going to tell me that you know that's how we're going to play in the World Cup against the bigger nations. But I want to see that balance. Can you imagine Boss and Irankunda linking up, or Boss transferring the ball across to Toure and Segecic or Metcalf? Like,
Yeah.
again, you've seen we scored 4, possibly 5 goals we could have scored against New Zealand with less of the ball. So what what else can we do? Like this, we're just on the peripheral of this. So again, if you add Boss in there, does Boss give you any defensive problems? No, he's a great. He played left back. He knows what he's doing. He's good in the air. He's a good one-on-one defender. So yeah, but that's what I want to see out of the back line. I still would like to see Hayden Matthews in one of those spots tested against one of these sides. I still think a ball playing defender will lift that little bit of possession that we lack out of the back. So there's probably 2 points from the back, 3 or 5. The midfield, I think you would have seen last night, Ballard and O'Neill fits well, and I think Yazbek complements it when it comes on. Metcalf played himself into that role, and I think him and Segecic would be the two that I'm looking for to continue that path, because that in a World Cup you're not going to play every minute, are you? Like these two ones, and I think Irankunda and Toure was just the shining light, not just for the goals, but for his hold up play and his movement and his passing and connectivity with Irankunda and Metcalf. I think that was more special for me than the goals, because it just goes to show if we're going to target and hold the ball up front and can really trouble people and bring the 10s in behind, I think just, again, it creates more opportunities to score. And we just haven't seen that free-flowing football for a long time, but it's been coming, but it's been a grind to get there. But I think that right balance is really suited. So they're the subtle changes that I would make to what I've seen over the 2 legs.
It'll be very interesting to see how some of those fringe players and ones that have been involved in the Socceroos previously. I'm thinking Tilio, Zani, Stanislavopoulos. We mentioned Zach Saps for the other night, him coming back for Dundee United. How all of them, Jed Drew will more than likely miss the next window if his back injury is no good. But there's a few there that, and I think as you were saying with the keepers, everyone's on notice now, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like part of this process is that no spots are, and okay, maybe the back line is a bit more settled, but there's plenty of options there, particularly in the front 3, if we're going to stick with this system. And it'll be very, very interesting to see how the players that were in camp react and the ones that missed out react as we lead into that October window. One more question we did have from one of our followers on X, Brian. He's asked about a formation of a 4-2-3-1 with Boss playing on the left wing. So of the left of that 3, I would assume that question alludes to. Would you see? I mean, firstly, I don't think Popovic is going to change the system, but if we were to revert to something like that, is that something that Boss could play?
Yeah, absolutely. But the problem is, and thanks for the question, Brian. I think it's a great one. But the problem is we're playing 4 central defenders in the back 5 now. So I just don't think Popper's looking at that back 4. I think it'll suit the front 3 a lot, and playing with a 10 in behind, I think we'd be dynamic. But I think, unfortunately, at the moment, with that back 3, it's just a lock, and the 4th central defender in the left side looks like we're never going to go to a back 4.
Yep.
Do you agree, Chief? Or I just can't see it. If we're playing 4 central defenders and keeping out a left wing back, then there's no way we're going to a back 4.
Look, it's fun to debate it, but it's unrealistic because you mentioned a 3-4-3 the other night, and it's just this is our system. It's not going to change. There might be some subtleties within it, but that's the framework that we're working with. So
maybe after the World Cup, maybe that's the next progression of this side. So, I think Sarati, once he grows into that central defensive role and becomes a real lock for the future and can defend one-on-one against the best of the best in the world, then maybe we might see it. But I definitely think with Australia, we can't concede. He doesn't want to concede. He's a defender himself. And he was a central defender that played on the left side, yeah? I remember in 2006, that's where Gus put him just for some protection. So, yeah, I I think he's picked up some pointers there to shut some teams down from Gus, maybe. I don't know.
It was funny you say that. I was thinking today, and just sorry, a side point, but in that game against Uruguay 2005 when we qualified, Popovic was the one taken off for Harry Kewell when he came on, and that night, every time Harry Kewell got the ball, everyone stood up. Like it didn't matter where he picked up the ball, everyone expected something to happen. That's that. Irankunda has that effect, doesn't he? Like
Yeah,
he
100%.
he's like, "Oh, Irankunda's on the ball. Everyone stand up, quick!" Like he's gonna do something. Like he's gonna
Yeah.
shoot from 30 yards, or he's gonna dribble past 5 players, and that's exciting. I don't really think we've had that player. And
We haven't for a long time, mate. And like we said in that last World Cup, is that we're playing a false nine or a nine just to press, not to
yeah,
attack or hold up ball, score, to press, to defend. We're,
it's not
and
just Irankunda. It's not just Irankunda, but we do have those players now that people are
oh,
gonna get off their
100%.
seats and go, "Oh, he's gonna do something." Yeah, so that's cool. I just wanted to share that thought that I had today. I was like, when I was thinking about Popovic and thinking about his part in what that experience was, and I thought, oh, it's a bit of a full circle moment about
It
what's
is. It
happening there.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah, but you're 100% right about and that this is where I think the Australian fans can all feel it. They feel this excitement. They can see the brand. They can see the talent. And for players like Segecic and Boatic not to get on just goes to show the strength and the depth that we've finally created. And it's a whole system thing that's just flourishing at the moment. And it's exciting times for all the fans. And that's why you just can't get frustrated. You just got to ride the journey. And I can see the blueprint and the platform from 12 months ago, and that's why I can see where fans may be frustrated that as we progress, we will see the things that they're probably looking for all in the right times, and you know it's I can't remember a time since 2006 where I've just gone, this is so cool.
yeah. And look, I forgot to mention Garang Kuol there before as well, who's obviously finally got his
It's
move
another.
out of Newcastle. He
Yeah.
like when he played in that 2022 World Cup, it was like, oh, he's the next thing. Even like there are some other players that we thought that he's Yengi, for example. Like he's a lot of people thought, well, he's going to be our number 9 for a while, and it just shows that none of these things are guaranteed. But yeah, we do see something a bit different, I think, in this group. So let's hope they kick forward and show a lot more of that. Be shocking if those guys weren't picked for the October window. So I just can't see
Can
that happen.
can you imagine though, Tilio watching that and Boatic and Segecic, and they're gonna go, I've got to go again. I've got to go to another level.
Yeah.
And that's
Yep.
what it's all about. I've got to
Yep.
go to another level. I've got to prove to this guy that I belong in that space, and that fierceness of competition is just gonna drive everyone. And I just reckon everyone's gone. Where am I gonna go? In the last 3 or 4 months, everyone's got to go to a club where I'm playing football, and I've got to prove myself. And I think that's great.
Well, World Cup year, that's the thing, right? Like everyone
Yeah.
wants to go to a World Cup. So
Yep.
yep.
It's a
All right.
golden ticket.
All right, let's leave the Socceroos. We'll obviously be talking about them in a few weeks' time again when that squad is announced. Let's talk about Ange Postecoglou, mate. He is back in the Premier League. Only had a couple of months off. So he has signed with Nottingham Forest, reported that the contract is going to run until 2027. So he replaces Nuno Espirito Santo, who was sacked during the week. What a great way for Ange to come back into the Premier League. How good.
It's great to have the Australian coach back. It's exciting. We get to follow the journey of another, pioneer of Australian football. And like you said, that I think that's recognition for, winning Europe. And, we know what happened in the league, and we know Tottenham's challenges, and he couldn't find that balance, but he gets to come back and try again. And what better way to do it than, again, in the Premier League, one of the highest, the best league in the world, and you have to be the best of the best. And once again, Big Ange back on the sideline, and it'll excite a lot of Australian fans to see him back in there. What are
Yeah.
your early thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have some challenges at Nottingham Forest in terms of style. Not that he didn't, I suppose, have that going into Tottenham, where they were playing a very different brand of football to what he wanted to play. But this is a bit different coming in during the season, not having the preseason to work on things. But Forest, pretty well renowned for sitting in and breaking, as opposed to dominating possession and playing free flowing possession based football that Ange does like to play. So that's probably going to be his initial challenge as to, rejigging that playing group as to the style that he would like to play. What do you think though that he's learned from his experience at Tottenham that he might be able to bring to this role?
I think he would have learned a great deal. He would have already known the pressures of what the Premier League and top international football and the challenges that it presents. The additions to that is he would have seen the demand of his style. He would have to have learned that the most. His demand of his style, and you've seen how he adapted later in the year with Tottenham to win something and what he had to do it, and it ended up costing him his job in the league by doing it. But he definitely, and you look at Forest, mirror image, yeah? They come, seventh last year, which means they're in Europa, just off Champions League. They had a chance to get in Champions League and blew it in the last couple of games. But I definitely think his learnings would be my style brings this, but can it be sustainable through all competitions? And he would have realised very much so that the depth and the rotation and the way he trains and plays has to be adaptable. Otherwise, he's going to have the same problems. And I think, again, if you would have seen how Tottenham won the Europa final, it was very unlike Ange or the way he wants to be perceived is his football. But he realizes he is a winner, Chief, and that's what probably beat Man U on the day. He is a serial winner of trophies, and he knows how to win in big moments, which is his strength. So me, number one, he would have learnt that his style demands and the pressure that puts on in the biggest league with all the competitions around it needs to be balanced and adaptable.
So do you think that then means that do you think that's mainly around pressing or mainly around retention of the ball or knowing when in periods of games to just ease off a little bit? Or is it kind of game to game management? Like I'm looking at their fixtures coming up. They're in the league, obviously. Still in the AFL Cup. They're in Europa League. So it's a busy schedule, similar to what Tottenham had last year. So do you think it's a game to game proposition or more of an in game thing that he's trying to manage?
I think it's both. He said halfway through, or at the end of the year, that halfway through Tottenham's year, he changed.
Yeah.
He said that. So he's already learnt the number one lesson as far as I'm concerned. So I think that experience of that and knowing that expectations and pressure, you can deliver whatever, but if you can't deliver consistently across all of them, then no one's going to be satisfied with it, no matter what you do. You win a Europa League trophy, then that's sometimes not even that's good enough, as
Yeah.
it was proven, yeah?
Yeah.
You can't just say 17th and accept it. So he'll know that the expectation is, Forest will probably expect him to be up there in Europa, but all
Particularly with Marinakis as the owner. Like
oh, 100%.
he high expectations. Yeah.
Yeah, and they want everything. You and this is the beauty of the Premier League. It's so cutthroat that you can't go anywhere. That would have not been another thing they would have learned. You can't go anywhere. Like Scotland think, oh yeah, we're gonna win this week and probably play in third gear. Mate,
Yeah.
you cannot even in a cup game. Remember that cup game he went to and they had to I think they won in
Yeah.
extra time or penalties or whatever it was. Extra time, I think it was.
Yeah.
He would have known that everybody is so ruthless, no matter where they're from or where they are in the league or what league they're in, that everyone's after you, mate. And it's just that's the fierceness of the competition over there.
And look at the scrutiny, like when Man U lost to Grimsby Town a few weeks back, and all of a sudden the media is all over it, and it's different angles, it's this and it's that. And on the media, do you think that he's going to learn he was obviously loved and adored when he first got over there because he was so open. He was everyone with
Pioneering.
his, everyone with his mate and all that kind. But is he going to have that same approach? Is he going to be so open with, or is he going to be a bit cagier? And what does he learn from that experience? Do you think?
Oh, look, you don't want to put. Oh, I know he had the last laugh, but it took a toll, didn't it? And again, it's just about balance. He just has to learn and get that balance. Whether he's, I don't know if it's stubbornness or whatever. I just think he's so entrenched in his beliefs, which is good. That's a good thing to be entrenched in your beliefs and believe what you want. I'm proud of him for that, and I think that's what a lot of people admire about him. But the English media are a different beast, and we've seen that throughout history, not just through sport. And there's just no need to put pressure on yourself because in the end, you can prove through results, which he did, that he can do what he did and say what he said because that's he believes in what he does, which is good. So just let that stuff roll and just let them say and do whatever they want because reality is football's a results business. So again, it's if he does, then I think it just adds less pressure on him. But again, there's pressure on everyone. Look at Arteta. He's finished second. Yeah, the blokes turned Arsenal around. They weren't even in the Champions League. They're runners up. They're challenging Man City, who have been the best football team in the last 10 years. And he still gets scrutinised because they're just not good enough. And it just goes to show how fine the margins are over there. And you know, if you're an Arsenal fan, they don't even know whether to be happy or not. But like they were in the semi-finals of the Champions League and they finished second, and still just nothing's ever good enough. I'm not satisfied, and people still question that. So you know, look how many coaches have won the Premier League and Champions League and been sacked. Like it's just
Yeah. Yeah.
that's just endless cycle over there. So look, whether or not Forest is the right club for him, probably not. But you know what? There's an opportunity and there's an owner that believes in him and believes that he can deliver something. So, you know, however he got there with Nuno, we can talk about the relationship or whatever. But again, that's the beauty and the beast of football. He's got to take his mark. He's got to take his opportunity. He wanted to go back in the Premier League. He clearly has a point to prove again. Yeah. He is that relentless on his beliefs that he's ready to go again and probably prove to him that he can get a side up there. Forest have got some good talent. They finished 7th last year. They got Anderson and Morgan Gibbs at White. But again, like anything, anyone can be bought and sold. So he's going to have the same challenges like everyone else does. So it'd be very interesting to watch. And I think Forest fans would be going, oh, we could be a sneaky in the Europa Cup.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Because again, what the contrast is, can he have that balance? Because you can't play Anderson, Morgan Gibbs, White, 76, 70 games. International World Cup qualifiers. You've seen Anderson break through. So again, you got players playing, and it's going to really test their squad, just like it is everyone else over there. So I think just from an Australian point of view, the Pioneer getting another opportunity. Look, we wish him well. And geez, I hope we see something again and more sleepless nights to report on. But yeah, we wish him well, and everyone can have their opinion of whether it's right or wrong, but in the end he's back there and he's doing what he loves. Yeah, and this football's his game.
Yeah, and he's gonna get straight into it, and I saw a few people today pushing for Stan or Channel 9 to extend their free-to-air coverage of the Premier League, which is stopped now because the 9:30 game on Saturday night, Arsenal versus Nottingham Forest.
Oh, don't you just love football?
Uh,
Hey, I just love
the
football.
viewership's just doubled. Like, it's fantastic. Like,
So
yeah,
it's not live on 9? Is that there's
don't
not
think so. I
live?
think it was only
Oh,
first 3 weeks.
well,
So
you watch any money that they'll extend this, they'll head over heels. But anyway, we'll watch this space. If not, those who watch Stan, you're gonna have some friends over, I guarantee you.
yeah, but challenging,
9:30. Wow.
challenging start for Ange, but look, wouldn't put it past him to get a result. over the Gunners. And interesting your point around squad management, because the next game after that is against Cameron Burgess's Swansea in the League Cup. So again, is he gonna throw the kids out there, as they say, for the League Cup, because he knows that he's not going to want to have a poor season in the league. And if it means they get knocked out of the League Cup against Swansea, maybe so be it. But then after that, they're actually Premier. And look, as you said before, you can't guarantee any points anywhere in the Premier League. But their next games before the international break are Burnley in the league, and then Sunderland in the league, and then they've got a tough one against Newcastle before they break up for the international break. And in between those ones, they've got Real Betis in the Europa League and Midtjylland in the Europa League as well. So interesting mixture of games there for Ange to tackle before he gets a chance to sit down the international break and probably gets a chance to reset. But how about that? He's thrown in there, and what's that, like 6 games in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, I think. 7 games in about 4 weeks.
Plus internationals.
Just a rip straight in. So, look, as you said, fantastic to see him back in the Premier League. And, we loved it the first time around for Spurs, and I'm sure all Australian football fans will have an eager eye on Nottingham Forest now that Ange is in there.
Oh, it's just great for Australian football. Look, again, we're off to the World Cup, under-20s World Cup next month, just Matilda's Asia Cup, Ange back in the Premier League, players overseas going great. It's just unbelievable for Australian football, and we've got to capitalise on this. We say it all the time, there's so many highs in Australian football. We've got to capitalise on these pioneers, because they're doing such a great job and deserve for everything in Australian football to get better. So it
is really nice to look at the glass half full approach, mate, because it is easy to look at the bad things, but yeah, it's important to highlight all the great things that's going on too.
I'm just trying to find, Chief. Okay, I've seen Tottenham are playing Notts Forest. He'll go to the Tottenham ground on the 22nd of March.
Yeah, he's got a while.
Next year. He's got a while, hasn't he? So that'll be very interesting to see how the crowd reacts. And it'll be interesting.
He'll get a warm welcome for sure.
Oh, absolutely. It'd be interesting to see where Tottenham is too. And they play Tottenham at home on the 14th of December. No. So yeah, early Christmas there for Ange.
No,
I don't think he looks at it like that, but Australian fans would.
Oh yeah, the ones that are not happy about him being sacked from Spurs certainly would, for sure.
Just look at his record, though. It's just amazing. No matter what he achieves, whether it works or not, it's just, again, we've got an Australian pioneer over there in football, and Kevin Muscat's doing well, and it's just great to see all these pioneers of Australian football and sport over there. It's just unreal, women and men. Like, as I said, we reported on that. What Ballon d'Or nominees? We've got PFA winner. Like, just the list is endless. Just like you said, so much good stuff. It's really exciting.
All right, mate. That might do us for tonight. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this special bonus episode of the Aussie Game podcast, as we reviewed the Soccer Ashes second leg for the Socceroos, and we also touched on Ange Postecoglou back in the Premier League. We'll be back on Sunday to record as usual. There's going to be plenty of fixtures over the weekend to report on, so we look forward to bringing that to you then. Thanks for your time tonight, Mopper.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for the viewers with the questions and comments. That was great to hear. And thank you for following us and sharing in the journey of Australian football.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening to the Aussie Game podcast. We'll be back to record on Sunday as usual. In the meantime, enjoy your football.
All the best.